Hello, and I'm joined today by Darryl Dioso, and Darryl is the managing partner of Resource Management Solutions Group. Now, Resource Management Solutions Group is an absolutely amazing sales and marketing recruiting agency. So, Darryl, I wanted to connect with you today to ask you some very specific questions about salespeople and recruiting salespeople. So, listen, what are the qualities that you look for in a top-notch salesperson?
Well, in a salesperson themselves, I'm looking for a few things, but if I'm going to have to narrow it down to three, I'm going to have to pare it down. First and foremost is they're a very competitive individual. I'm finding that the best salespeople are competitive in nature. They typically have like maybe a sports background or something of that nature. Maybe they were like in maybe in school politics or something like that, right? That sort of background. Second is they are very analytical. They're the best salespeople I know understand their numbers like inside and out, and they're able to view them, see where they went wrong, maybe plan for the future. And then the third, and it's something that I always constantly work on, the best salespeople are the best listeners. They talk less. They listen. They listen for the pains. They listen for cues. They listen for body language cues from the prospect. They're excellent listeners.
I got to agree with all of those things. Now, at one time, I had about 315 people working
Wow.
for me, many of them in a sales capacity. And I completely agree. We used to hear decades ago, look for somebody with that gift of gab, somebody who is a smooth talker. And I think we got some time back that we really are looking for those good listeners,
Yes.
those analytical people with great people skills who are really focused on the listen more so than the talk. So, speaking of listen, does that translate well to the resume? And what kinds of things do you look for on a salesperson's resume that reflect those characteristics that you're looking for?
No. Well, aside from the usual points that any hiring manager or HR professional should be looking for, like no grammatical errors, no spelling mistakes, and so forth. There's a few things that I'm always looking for that kind of speak to those key points. And the first and foremost is that analytics. And so with that and that competitive nature, so what I'm looking for are accomplishments. I expect to see on a great sales resume, I want to see your accomplishments, right? I want to see what did you do, right? It's the difference between simply outlining on your resume, sales professional responsible for the GTA, responsible for both business development as well as account management. So, well, you've just given a role description versus another sales resume where they outline also responsible for the GTA, business development and account management activities. Last year, exceeded targets by 110%, increased territory sales net new by over $2 million and brought on brand name accounts like Honda of Canada, Lowe's, and the Sick Kids Hospital. Things like that, right? Like, who are we going to hire? And those are the sort of resumes that stand out for me.
Got you. In the sales game, we call that converting features to benefits, right?
Yeah.
Where you're looking at the features of that role and what they did to benefit the organization they worked for. So listen, this is just a quick question, something I've always been interested in. Of the resumes that you get, how many are really keepers? 10%, 20%. Have you ever worked out that number?
I haven't really worked out that number, but it's low. It's not even as high as 10%, unfortunately, right? There's just so many people that are sending in resumes. And quite frankly, a lot of them are basically almost like a post and pray sort of attitude where they just simply send it out to as many people as possible and as many recruiters as possible. I get resumes, like they're not even in sales and they're sending me a resume, which is okay if you're planning to transition, right? But you need to craft a story that speaks to, okay, I'd like to be considered for a career in sales because of this. I've been working primarily in the restaurant and hospitality industries, and it may seem that I'm not suited to sales, and then they outline, and then I can see, okay, the story. But if you're just going to leave it as is, that you were, I don't know, nothing to do with sales.
Exactly.
No. And unfortunately, the majority of the resumes are like that. They don't even speak to the role, let alone to, make me want to even read any further.
Yes. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, listen, when somebody makes it to the interview stage with you, what is your very favorite question to ask a prospective sales candidate in the interview?
I have quite a few questions I like to ask, but my favorite though has got to be deals with failure. I always like to. It goes something like this. It's as salespeople, we're given targets to achieve, right? And any good salesperson knows that you don't always hit your targets, right? If we were to graph it, one's career, it would look like this: ups and downs. Sometimes you hit the target, sometimes we don't. It's just the reality of sales. Those times when you hit the mark, whether it be you know, maybe a monthly, quarterly, even yearly target, what plan of action did you take to get back on track? I love that because that then is, first off, you're realistic, right? If anyone tells me that they are always hitting their target, you're lying. It's just impossible, right? Second is now we get into a good conversation as to self-reflection and self-improvement, right? What did you do, right? And that is when I get some really good feedback from the candidate. I really I missed the target and it hit me pretty hard, Darryl. But the first thing I did was I reached out to my manager, asked her for help. I asked her, can you shadow me and tell me what I'm doing wrong? I reached out to my colleagues, to see what they were doing. They hit their targets. I didn't. What can I do wrong? What should I change and so forth. I took extra training, or I reviewed my numbers and I saw that I wasn't doing as many prospecting calls as I thought I did. Variety of answers. It's some of the best conversations I've had in interviews were started from that question.
That makes complete sense to me because I can see, in that question, you're finding out how resilient your prospect is, your candidate is, I should say, how resilient they are. And you're also seeing how well they problem solve. If they found that they were stuck someplace, where did they go, to get the answers? And I found those two characteristics to be very, very important in salespeople. So
It
speaking of
also,
salespeople,
oh, sorry, I was just going to say, sorry, I was just going to jump in because it also speaks to how difficult sales is, right? Because it's probably the most challenging role in any company or, because the simple fact is because it can be measured, right? We're measured. And so if you don't have the thick skin to persevere and get past all of that, right? The sales is not for you, right? It's not for you. So that's when I hear like, I hear how they did something else to recharge and refresh. Maybe they took a break or they went for a holiday or something like that. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to add that as well because it really
that's
speaks
very
to.
important for
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting to hear that sales is a difficult role. There are some people, and I'm going to say like us, who really take to it like a duck to water. It's just such a natural fit. But you're absolutely right. One of the things we love about it is that it's never easy. There is a constant, source of challenges coming at us. And I think true salespeople, people who are salespeople in their core, really respond well to that. Again, as you mentioned, that competition and all of those challenges and all of those problems that need to be solved. So I can completely relate to that. Now, speaking of salespeople, bless their hearts, we get that in virtually any situation, people may not be, they may tend to sugarcoat things. They may tend to make things look better than they are. And I'm going to hazard a guess that you get salespeople coming to you who's what the information that they're relaying to you in their resume is maybe not reflective of what's really gone on in their sales careers. So how do you separate the fact from the fiction? When you're interviewing a salesperson, whether it's on the telephone, by Zoom, in person, how do you separate, again, the fact from the fiction and get to what's really true and what might be just slightly exaggerated?
Oh, that's a really good question. First off is drill down on the numbers. True salespeople will know their numbers inside and out. They will not give you something sort of foggy like I hit my target. No, did you hit it by? They hit it by 110%, right? And then if you follow up, well, what was your target? Well, I've been earmarked to hit $1 million for this year, right? They know it inside and out. Can break it down as to, well, can you walk me through, Ellen, how did you hit that number? They know how many calls they did that on a weekly basis, how many converted into prospect leads, how many then were then turned into a qualified meeting, how many then closed into a sale. They know it inside out. It's the wishy-washy ones where they're kind of embellishing it, or maybe they're just outright lying. Unfortunately, they don't know. They can't tell you the numbers, right? And then next to that, though, and it's a tool that I think you and I have talked about, many times, even for training, that I like to use. If I'm still unsure, like, is this person really who they are? Role play. You know what? Sales is like a theatric performance, right? Are you ready? Let's go on stage. Okay.
Absolutely.
So if you tell me that you're a cold caller, a good prospector, hey, Ellen, let's jump on the phone. Let's do some calls, or call me, cold call me. So let's see how that goes. And you should be ready to go. And the true sales performers are like more than willing and able to show their craft at the drop of a hat. They're like, oh, bring it on.
Absolutely. And I get that the best salespeople I've met are true performers.
Yes.
And not that they're not authentic, they're very, very honest. That's why they build up a client base and maintain it, is with their honesty and their integrity. But they are true performers, and they are waiting for that curtain call. And there is a reason. I've got to say, I personally never used this, but I know a lot of recruiters and hiring managers who have used the "please sell me this pen" example in an interview. And I get that when we're putting the candidate on the spot and saying, okay, we're going to role play now. You slip into the role of salesperson, try to sell me this pen, that it's for a very, very good reason. I would expect if the candidate jumps up from their seat and runs screaming from the room, you can probably write them off. Again, those salespeople, the true salespeople, are performers. And again, they don't mind being center stage in a whole lot of cases. So listen, Darryl, there's a reason, obviously, why your recruitment firm is, doing so well and is doing so well for its clients. So I really thank you for joining me today. Again, Darryl Dioso. He is the managing partner of Resource Management Solutions Group, based out of Ontario, Canada. Any questions that you have for Darryl, please feel free to drop them in the comments. We're hoping that he'll join me again to answer more of the questions that are coming in. So again, Darryl, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take good care. Bye-bye.